Here we are in the middle of the Moab Desert with the chief engineer for the Hummer EV, Scott McLean. And thank you for having us here first. And the other thing is thank you for bringing us where you actually did all the testing for this car. I don't think I have ever had that experience before.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I'm the lead development engineer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, I give you
you gave me a promotion. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. I'll take it.
Well, talk to someone at GM. How about it?
Just play this for them. Thank you very much. It's been a really fun event for that exact.
Yeah. By the way, can you explain the difference between those two titles that you just mentioned?
Yeah. So the chief engineer is literally like the head of the program. Okay. Everything from like the hardware engineers, they all filter up through him. As a lead development engineer, our job involves more of the integration of those hardware pieces and turning it into performance, whether that's range, watts to freedom launches, noise and vibration, all of that stuff, the feel of the vehicle, its ability to perform out here in the desert, things like that. That's where we come in.
So like you put all the pieces together.
Yep.
And there's a leader that oversees all the things. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry about the interruption.
No,
I think it's interesting.
It is. Yep. No problem. So yeah, like I was saying, this has been a really fantastic event. It's been really fun to do. This is not man-made. This is, hey, come on out and drive the vehicle, and we'll show you that it can conquer. To me, like Moab is like the top, right?
Yeah.
This is like the great challenges, fun driving, but also great challenges. And like you said, full circle coming back to where we did development. This target was always out there for us in the early days of Hummer. Even the people that came before me on the program, Moab was on their mind the whole time. So coming out here to do development to see how we were doing, could we climb these steps, these walls, these straight vertical steps up and continue to develop, make it better and better. So now here's this final product, and you can see the results, right? It's super agile, fun. There's enough power to overcome any little mistakes. If you're not a super experienced off-roader, it's all there for you.
So let's talk about a little bit. You said you came later in the program because this program, from what I remember, was developed like in a record time during the pandemic.
Yep.
And so there were a lot of challenges to develop this. When you came into the program?
It would have been right around 2.5 years ago. I think I came onto the program. One of my first trips actually on the team was here to Moab.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, that was right about 2 years ago today. So I came on a few months before that, and it was a really great shock introduction into the Hummer, right, and all its capabilities.
Oh,
really? Yep. I'd worked on some cool programs in the past, but then getting out here, having my job be to drive a Hummer out here on a course like this, it was really exciting for me.
Not a bad day in the office, as they say.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Exactly.
It's better than my desk.
So, exactly. So let's talk about, we've been driving here for yesterday we drove a little bit on the road, a little bit off-road, and already we can see what the capability of this vehicle is just amazing. But let's start with the platform. This kind of technology and integration of all the different systems could not have been possible in a ICE platform, right? In a internal combustion engine platform, in the old technology, let's say.
What I'll say that one of the most unique advantages we have with the battery being basically the bottom of the vehicle and having that batteries are heavy, that gives a really great low center of gravity. So we've got a wide off-road vehicle with a low center of gravity, which means, as you're climbing these obstacles and, you're tilting to the side, it keeps you really centered and you're not gonna go over, right?
Yeah.
That low center of gravity is a huge advantage, and you don't have that on a traditional ICE vehicle. It'll be a little higher up because the mass is physically higher, right? The engine and transmission sit a little higher. It's not as low to the ground as far as its center of gravity. So it's a real big advantage there. And I think in general, the time was right for a lot of this technology to start to be integrated into a vehicles, like the rear steer.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily unique to an EV, but it was the time to bring it all together in there, right? And yeah, like you said, it is amazing and it's fun, isn't it?
I know, it's really, really incredible. When you are as you said, you are driving and some of the trails are a little bit easy and it's mostly gravel and something, but then you turn around and there's this huge obstacle and say, what, are we gonna do that? And you can do it easily. So let's talk about the different driving modes that make it able to do it.
Sure. Yep. So we'll start at the most basic, which is just normal mode, right? Which is still fun in its own right. And you know, that one's the one where, like we talk about rear steer, it has, you know, a light input there, not a real big gain, you know, and that makes sense for driving down the road. It's still going to be very soft on the highway. It's the air suspension gives you that advantage, right? It's like a luxury vehicle going down the road. Feels great.
You're driving 80, 85 miles an hour, and don't tell the police.
You have to be careful.
But it feels so smooth.
Yes.
And like the other thing, I mentioned it yesterday while driving, that the quietness, like that, it's like another level of the experience that makes it much more enjoyable.
Yep, and actually, just we'll get back to the drive modes in a second. But if you think about it, if we were up here in like a side by side,
to
go, and you're talking to your partner while you're going up, you have to yell.
Yeah.
And here we are sitting comfortably with whether you want heated seat or cooled seat. It's quiet.
Wi-Fi.
We can talk to each other from vehicle to vehicle with Wi-Fi, right? It's like you've got this amazing contradiction of like comfort while we're in the desert climbing up rocks, right? So now in the drive modes, the one that I'm in the most day-to-day basis would be my mode. And what's kind of nice, and I'll show you here.
Yeah, we're playing with it. This is Audi only, but like the graphics are fantastic. I wish I could show them.
So when you get into my mode, you can configure it like you want. So from a steering input, this back in the old days, right, we would tune a steering cal for the vehicle based on what we wanted, and that was it. That's what you got. Now you can change the effort and the feel on what you prefer all the time. So normal is normal. Tow haul is a little more centered. You know, it stays more home as you would want, right? If you were towing a vehicle or like a traditional truck, it's just you want to stay centered more.
Yeah.
I really enjoy terrain mode. It gives it a lighter feel. And like maybe like a sports car would have that lighter feel to it, right? And that's all up to the driver. Suspension, same thing. I usually, day to day, I just leave it in normal mode. Acceleration, I'll tell you this, I've never ever put it on relaxed mode. It's there if you want it, and it's great, but I love adrenaline
So
mode.
what's the torque, which is crazy number?
The torque at the wheels is 11,500.
Wow.
Yep. And you can feel it.
I know.
Motor sound, this one I've gone back and forth on. Relaxed is
I haven't seen that one.
It's very quiet. Relaxed is very quiet, which most of the time I like. Normal is kind of like a mid-range. Adrenaline really sounds, it gives us this motor sound inside here, and it sounds cool. And that's exactly what my son said to me. He said, why don't you do this one? It's a really powerful truck. It sounds awesome with it on. So
I'm going to try that on the way back, by the way.
Yeah, definitely try.
You can leave it on.
Yeah, well, this applies only when you're in my mode. So when we get out onto the main road, try it, and we'll leave it like this, and you should hear it when you go. You'll have to select my mode. Now moving on to tow haul. I mean, the graphic is cool. Right?
The graphics are just insane.
Pulling a rocket.
They're like video game inspired, I guess, right? Like fantastic, and the screens and everything.
Yep, and tow haul is kind of self-explanatory, right? When you would use that.
Yeah.
Off-road is kind of interesting because, you might think, well, we're off-roading here today, right? But there's several kinds of off-road.
Of course.
Right, and you can even see from the graphics there, like the terrain, the kind of terrain they're on. That's great for sand, for snow, where you want more slip. Like, drifting, coming around, climbing a dune, you want some more slip in the wheels. That's off-road. That's when you would use that one. Even on the 2-track trail coming in a little bit is kind of a scenario where you might want to use off-road. And then, of course, now taking us to terrain, which is like, really, to me, the most impressive mode, where we've spent a lot of time today, right?
And by the way, it gives you a graphic to accept.
Yep.
Why?
And that's because, when we get into both off-road and terrain mode, we do some things different with traction control. So you have to acknowledge that, you should be using these in specific scenarios. It's not really made to be like driving down the street, this way customers know that, okay, my traction control's been modified.
An extra level of security.
Yeah, absolutely. So nobody does it on accident.
Yeah.
And now that you're in terrain mode, you've got the most aggressive gain on the rear steer. So the lightest input to the steering wheel, the rear steer reacts the quickest, which you can definitely feel when you drive, right?
Yeah, it feels like it's sliding, but it's really controlling. It's completely the opposite of the feeling.
Yep.
Because it's like you turn in a very tight turn, and then you feel like, woo. But no, it's like putting you in the right position to make that turn.
And on some of these switchbacks on the trail, it's easy, right?
Completely.
It just comes around for you.
As you said, it makes a bad driver a better driver.
yes. And what terrain mode also brings with it is it immediately puts you into a one pedal mode, which is even a more aggressive version of one pedal mode than you can have in like my mode or normal mode. And that's to basically remove the need to 2-foot drive like off-roaders have always been trained and used to, right?
Course,
As you're descending, you've got that left foot on the brake. The idea is now you can do that with 1 foot. And we've got within terrain mode a couple, more tools. You can go down into from drive to low, and you get one more step of even more aggressive on the one pedal drive. So if you really need to stop sharp, and there's some great descents we're going to do in the second half of the day that'll help you really ease down. So you don't accidentally let anything get away from you and you build up too much momentum. It really lets you ease down. And then maybe the coolest thing in terrain mode would be going into extract ride height.
Okay.
And that's where you get to that. You can only do this in terrain mode. You can get up to that very max ride height of, it's another 6 inches above normal ride height to give you like the full 16 inches of clearance.
Wow.
And gives you, your departure angle, I think, almost hits 50 degrees on the rear.
Pretty much you can get out of anywhere.
Yeah, and so like, you think extract like getting out of trouble, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it will get you out of trouble, and it'll clear some stuff that just you can't believe that you can get this vehicle over it.
By the way, watch the videos that we're producing on this test drive because they are really, really impressive. Not because I'm driving, but because of your job, what you have done to make these vehicles possible to able to do this. So let's talk now about the electric powertrain. People are gonna say, okay, I mean, some people know the advantages of an electric car, instant torque and all that kind of thing. But then other people are gonna say, okay, what about the range? What about like these other things? What will be your response to that?
Yeah, so like if you look at where we're off-roading today, we're gonna spend 5 hours on the trail, and I think you'll probably will have used a total of 30% of your charge.
Yeah, we left the Moab with 100%, which was almost 290 miles.
Yep.
Because this one has the off-road package and all that, so it's a little less than the normal one version, which is 313.
Yep.
So
314. Sorry.
14.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give it one. I drive an Echo for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and we are halfway there of the day, at least 190 left. So, I mean, no range anxiety whatsoever.
Yeah, and so what you'll see here, like that range will adjust based on your consumption.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
So when we're up here in the mountains, we're not traveling a long distance, but we are using energy to climb, and just like a nice vehicle would, it's going to consume more the more you work it. So the range will go up and down. The SOC, we're still going to be in a really good spot by the time we get back. That'll include the 30-minute drive back to the home base, right? So 5 hours of off-roading, we won't even get close to low range. And, that's, I understand people, aren't used to it, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get used to it. But this, like, to me, I'm not nervous at all about running out of energy out here. We're going to be in a great space. And I think as people get more comfortable with it or come out and try it themselves, they'll really come around.
And that's why I always try to say, like, people who have doubts about electric cars, they have to experience it, because we can do videos, we can do this podcast for like a million hours. But if people don't sit in the car and experience it and come to do this, or like even drive around town, they will never know how it works, right?
Yep, and it's amazingly fun to drive whether you're off-roading or on-roading, right? And so that the overall experience is fantastic. And
then the other thing on the fast charging system, which is also amazing, you can get, what was it, like 100 miles of range in a few minutes, like 15 to 18 minutes.
14 minutes.
14 minutes, like minutes, something like quicker than a bio stop. At the gas station, not because you need to put gas, because you have to go to the restroom.
That's right.
So it will be like
at 100 miles, with the restroom stop. Yeah, absolutely. It's and that's, I think, again, that's experience. People experience
You have to do it. You have to do it.
I think us sharing the numbers will help.
Yeah, of course.
But like, they need to go try it and do it themselves, and they'll see. I think everybody will start to get a lot more comfortable.
So briefly, because I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time, and there's like not justice to all your work, years of work in 15 minutes or so. The difference between this one and the pickup truck, which was the original Hummer EV.
Yeah, sure. I think like the biggest thing to me is, given the wheelbase of the SUV being shorter, right? I think 9 inches shorter.
Yeah.
the huge advantage on the departure angle.
Okay,
You know, so one, you're more nimble because you have a smaller wheelbase and you still have the rear steer that both products have. This has an increased departure angle, like I said, up to almost 50 degrees in extract mode, and that just gives you more agility, more contact-free clearance of obstacles, right? So I think between the two, you know, when it comes to off-roading, that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, and then all the other technology, like simple things, quote unquote simple. Nothing is really simple, I guess, when you're in engineering. But the cameras, 17 cameras, and all the connectivity, all the luxury of the cabin is fantastic too. The panels that can go off. Yeah. There's a lot here in this truck. So really, I've enjoyed this event. And
great.
Again, not any companies that I have been in more than 20 years have brought us where you did the whole testing. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can tell we were really excited to come out. Well, it's fun to come out here. Just even if you weren't here, exactly. This would be a fun trip for me anyway. But it's exciting to have you guys here to experience this and do what we did. And we're confident you're going to love it and that it's going to perform well, you know. And
they're calling us to go driving, so we have to stop talking.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much again, and we're gonna enjoy the drive back and all those 194 miles left of range.
Right.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.